It's here. We're back. It's official. Oh my God. We're back. I can't believe it. So welcome to Spill It. My name is Marcus, for those who don't know. But yeah, my name is Marcus. So hi there. Welcome to Spill It. Spill It is a show where I get to speak to inspirational people and share some inspirational stories to connect people together, inspire others, and help people learn something new. As you can tell, I am so very much excited because this is officially season 3. Oh my days, it's season 3. It is here. I cannot wait. Linda is straight in the comments there. Yay, welcome back. Yes, welcome back indeed. I love it so much, Linda. Thank you so much for your comment. And again, as well, tagging Deborah. Yeah, get her in from Arizona. I want her back. She was in every week. We need her back again. Anyway, calm down. Yes, so my name is Marcus, for those who don't know. And the reason that I say that is because obviously we have many people who watch from different platforms. One of which we have officially gone live today for, and it's LinkedIn. So today only, well, not today only, but starting from today, but throughout the whole of season 3, we will be streaming live over on LinkedIn. So if you are watching over on LinkedIn, make sure that you drop a comment and come and say hi. Drop a comment in the box. Share your thoughts, share your feelings, all of that jive. And yes, you can be part of the conversation. It's as simple as that. Your number one supporter. Yes, indeed, she is. Deborah is my number one supporter. Absolutely love Deborah from Arizona. Anyway, back to this. We are on episode 79. I can't believe we are on episode 79. Episode 79. Welcome to season 3 with me, your host. It's Marcus. There is no guest tonight because tonight it's just family. Yes, it is just me. I am going to be keeping you company for the next 30 minutes, talking to you about all of the upcoming stuff that we have got planned for season 3 of Spill It. It's going to be really, really cool. There's some amazing things planned in the pipeline. So yeah, if you haven't checked out all the other episodes yet, then you can do. All you ever have to do is head over to the Spill It website. That is at www.spillit.uk, and you'll be able to catch up on all of the episodes. Now, you can watch them live over on Facebook. Now you can watch them on LinkedIn, and of course you can watch them all on YouTube as well. However, if you wanted to catch up in your car, going on a run or whatever, however you want to listen to me in your ear, then you can listen to me on your preferred podcast streaming method. So whether that be over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you want to listen to podcasts, you will find me there. And all you have to do is type in spillit.uk and you will find my glorious little logo right here. There we go, in that top corner. You'll find that on the album artwork for the podcast, and then you know that you found the right one, and you can listen to me as you are going on a run or having a coffee or making breakfast or whatever you want to do. However you listen to podcasts. I normally listen to them in the car as I'm driving around. So if you also listen to them in the car, then happy days. Head over to the Spill It podcast over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. and listen to me. Listen to all of the other 79 episodes that I have done with some absolutely amazing guests for the last couple of years. Dance X. Why are we talking about Dance X, Linda? I don't understand. You'll have to explain to me, Linda, why we're talking about Dance X. Yes, as you can see, anybody who is just about coming in, then you can drop a comment and you can be part of the conversation. You can come and say hi and we can interact with you. It's as simple as that. You do everything in the car. Oh, dancing. Yeah. So basically, I run, for those who don't know, I run a dance exercise class outside of absolutely everything else that I do, which is a whole lot of stuff. And I regularly choreograph routines in the car as I'm driving around. Yes, that's what I do. I don't do them like actually doing the routine. I do the routine in my head. And then when I get out of the car, I have to put the music on to see if the routine that I've made up in my head works. That's essentially it. That's how I do my routines. Anyway, make sure that you get those comments and questions in live. and you can be part of the conversation as well, and we can have a bit of a chit chat on here. Or alternatively, if you're watching this on playback, because a lot of people do, or you're listening to this on the podcast, then you can head over to my email inbox. Drop me a little cheeky email in there. Let me know your stories, your thoughts, your concerns, your advice, whatever it is. You can drop anything you want in my inbox. All you ever have to do is just email marcus@spillit.uk, and you'll be able to be or have your questions answered. There you go. That was correct. That's how I said it. Last but not least, the one thing that I always ask for. I've asked for it all the way through season 1. I'm going to ask for it all the way. Well, sorry, I asked for it all the way through season 2 as well, and I'm going to ask for it all the way through season 3 as well. Is to hit that share button. Hit the share button, because the more people that get to see this, that means that the more people get to interact with it, and also they get to learn something new. It's all about connecting people together. It's all about inspiring others. It's all about learning something new. And there may be people on your timelines or on your profile or your connections over on LinkedIn or whatever it is. It might be that somebody may benefit from this type of platform. So if, for example, we have a guest on I'm going to go through some of the guests, the amazing guests that we've got coming up throughout October, but it might be that somebody in October, one of our guests may really, somebody that you know may really resonate with that person. And if that is the case, then make sure that you share it out, because it then grows the platform. And the thing is that Spill It won't go anywhere. It's going to be there forever. However, that's not entirely accurate. So basically, as I have said, and obviously I posted it all over social media and over on LinkedIn and on YouTube, and I made a little video about it on there, and I posted about it on the Facebook page and, of course, on the website as well. Season 3 of Spill It will be the final season of Spill It. So we are going to get up to episode 100. Okay, so I always said that I wanted to get to 100 episodes of Spill It. And the decision behind this was purely because of the fact that I have got so many projects that I am working on at the moment, and one of which is going to be huge. It's going to be massive, and I really need to focus my efforts on this main project, if you will. Reason being, I mean, and I'm going to talk about it on tonight's episode as well, so you don't need to worry about that. But this project is going to be huge, and so therefore I can't keep juggling all of these different projects. I work full time. I run a dance exercise class now 3 times a week. I now obviously do Spill It, so Spill It's back every week. We'll get into that in a bit. But Spill It's now back, and also this other project, as well as volunteering at the Children's Theatre Company, Kids for Kids, and everything else that I've been doing. And how I look at it is that I'm like a jigsaw puzzle, and I'm just giving away all of my pieces, and I'm feeling it. And so therefore, the best thing for me is just to kind of refocus on what I definitely want to do, and break away from the certain things that have kind of run their course, if you will. Spill It started back in 2020 as a way to connect people together during the first lockdown. And the awkward thing was, or the awkward thing is now, is that whereas Spill It started to kind of connect with other people in different social circles or like different backgrounds, it then all of a sudden exploded. And I'm very, very grateful for everybody who helped out with that and helped grow Spill It into what it is today. The problem with that is that it ended up forgetting where it started from, if that makes sense. We were all caught up in the lockdown, and it was all about connecting with people and inspiring others. And don't get me wrong, there have been some amazing guests, especially during season 2 as well. I mean, who could forget Joey Kramer, right? my little idol when I was younger, from Flight of the Navigator, coming on the show. Daniel Franzese as well from Mean Girls. Jeez, like, so there have been some phenomenal guests, even like just down to just ordinary people. The problem was that it lost its way. And then when the world started opening back up again, it was no longer about connecting people together because we had ways to connect with people. And so I made this decision that, you know what, because season 2 ended and I was listening back to the podcast just to figure out how I was going to do all of this and where we were going to go and some of the ideas that I had. And I was listening to it and it said, we will be back for season 3 in a few months. And then it didn't. And it's been nearly a year since we did season 2 of Spill It. And I just felt that we needed an ending. And so that leads me quite nicely, actually, onto the plans of Spill It season 3. Ooh. So the plans of season 3 of Spill It, we have got obviously guests again, so don't worry about that. You're not just going to have my mug on your screens or in your ear talking away to you for the rest of like the next 21 episodes. Okay, what's going to happen is that we're going to have loads more guests. Okay, we're going to get to that golden number of episode 100. That 100 is going to be our finale episode. Okay. The great thing about this is that we have got plenty more games. So I know that during season 1, we started off quite rocky, I'll be honest. And then we started introducing little games that we started playing. And then season 2 happened and we introduced new games. Well, they're coming back. So we've got another kind of game, if you will, but of an icebreaker. It's called What's Your Ick? Icks. Oh, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it right now as well. And I want anybody who is watching this at home or listening to this on playback or wanting to listen to this on the podcast and they're listening to this bit now, I want you to get involved. So, what's your ick? An ick is basically something that you look at someone and you just think, oh, you know what? They are like beautiful, or they're somebody that I really look up to or really, really respect, etc. And then they do something. It could be a weird little something. And you just think, like, no, I can't handle that. And I just absolutely love it. I was listening to another podcast out in the plethora of podcasts, and they do they talk about like icks, and I was like, oh my god, I absolutely love it. And there are some amazing icks out there. So for an example, you might really, really like someone, or you might think that, oh, they're a bit of all right then. And then you find out that they sit down in the bath whilst it's filling up. So they climb into the bath completely naked and they just sit there waiting for the bath to fill up and then turn it off. And for me, that's I love them because they're just so stupid, but they're so funny. So we're going to be doing a What's Your Ick section. So I'm going to be finding out about people's icks, or like all of my guests' icks, and obviously you guys get to get involved with that as well. Linda, what the fuck? Exactly, Linda, exactly that. So I absolutely. The thing is that I love these. I love the icks. They're so funny. If you haven't like seen many online, I definitely urge you to watch videos on them. They are huge, especially over on TikTok as well. I love them, absolutely love them. So yeah, we're gonna have plenty of icks. So that's gonna be one of our new sections. We're gonna be talking about what's your ick, essentially. All right. So that's gonna be cool. And yeah, so we're gonna have returning guests, which is all cool, isn't it? So yeah, we're going to have returning guests. So the guests that we had on, so as I was saying before, where Spill It kind of lost its way a little bit and got really, really big. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to bring it back to what we were like on season 1. And so therefore, what I've decided to do is the guests that are going to be coming up are our first guests during season 1 to find out what they have been up to since the world started opening back up. So there were many, many conversations with loads of different people about how the pandemic and how the lockdowns had affected them, had affected their businesses, had affected their weddings, how it affected life in general. And so therefore, I'm bringing those guests back. We are going to be doing a full circle with those to try to basically see how life has been after lockdown, after things have got back to normal. I mean, normal is, can't say normal now, can you? Because, like, you know, it's still a little bit crazy out there. But we're not in a pandemic. We're not in, we're not locked down, essentially. So because of that reason, I wanted to bring these guests back. I wanted to see what they're up to now. So yeah, so that's what you've got looking forward to. That's what you've got to look forward to. We're going to have some returning guests. We're going to find out what their icks are. We're going to play some games, and then we're going to find out exactly what they've been up to. And I will be sharing out who we've got coming up at the end of this episode. So this episode is purely just to introduce season 3, essentially, and just welcome some new teacups over from LinkedIn, because there will be people who will be watching from LinkedIn at some point in the future. So hi LinkedIn. But yeah, also as a bit of an update as well. So before, as I said, I was listening to the podcast, and there was some of the things that I was saying or wanting to introduce or wanting to talk about, and said, oh, you know, I'm really excited for this and blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to kind of bring those back to the forefront and give you an update of what's happening with those as well. So with regards to the book, so I was writing a book called A Little Bit of Happiness, which was a self-help book, an inspirational self-help book. That's what I talked about on the podcast. Now, the book took a weird turn because I was writing the book in a way that I wasn't happy with, or that I was writing the book with advice that I would not listen to myself. And so therefore, I steered it in a different direction. I wanted it to be more me rather than the idea of what I kind of thought should be out there. So I created a new book, obviously called A Little Bit of Happiness, but it turned into a memoir of my life. Now, it was not like specifically just a memoir of my life, because that would be ridiculous, because I'm not a famous person and nobody would pick up the book and go, oh, let's give this a read because this looks interesting. What it was more a book or a memoir that was written in an inspirational way, with inspirational messages throughout, and certain exercises that you could do to look back on your past and look back on these these experiences that were quite negative in your life, and learn from them and find that little bit of happiness in those aspects of your life. So it goes through the different parts of our lives, or our the main connectors of our life, if you will. So it talks about family, it talks about friends, it talks about working life, it talks about relationships, it talks about hobbies and interests. It talks about all of these different subjects that you are attached to during your life. And it talks about school as well. And I write about my experience of going through friendships, or going through the family stuff, or going through school life, work life, etc. And then I talk about how to find your happiness within that subject. So, for example, for those who don't know, and I've openly talked about it, I think I talked about it in season 1 on a getting to know you episode, but during school, I was severely bullied. I was mentally and physically bullied. In fact, you will know about this because this was written in the papers. But yeah, I was physically and mentally bullied at school growing up, and that played a huge part of on affecting my mental health. The issue with that was that I grew up hating certain aspects of myself. and my life and who I was and who I was growing to be. And I kind of pushed people away. I didn't let people get close. I became quite a very much of a toxic person. But in the book, I talk about school. I talk about those experiences growing up. Like, for example, when I was just walking down the street and some of the lads from high school just jumped out of a bush and just knocked me to the floor and beat 7 L's out of me and carried on like nothing ever happened. And then I had to go to school the next day and see the ball. And I talk about those experiences and what I learned from them, because in every negative experience, you have to learn something about yourself, or you have to look at what am I learning from this experience? And at the time, I can obviously during when you're going through something, not even just like that, just like when you're going through something in your life, you don't necessarily look at the positives, and sometimes you're clouded through all the negativity. You can't see the positive, but it's when you look back on a situation, you can then say, do you know what? This is what I learned from it, and this is why I'm a stronger person now. So I openly talk about the stuff that I've gone through my life, through growing up at school and living at home and all of that. It's no secret. As I say, it was published in the papers, and when we won the Pride of Preston Award, it was all talked about in there and all of that lot. And I've gone on to different podcasts and talked about my life on there. So it's no secret. But you have to learn something. You have to be able to look back and think, right, okay, well, what did I learn about that situation? And the one thing that I learned, especially going through it all, the thought process of mine was that one day I'm going to make it. I'm going to be better than all of you. And I'm going to look back on my life and think, thank you. Thank you for doing what you did. Because without your negativity and without you doing these certain things, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. It's like, for example, when people say to you, would you want to go in the future and see what happens, see your life and all that lot, or would you go into the past and you can change something in your past? My answer is always the same. I would love to go into the past to be who I am now, but in the past. So I'm like my younger self, but with the mind and the mental state that I am in now, but back then. But only for one day. And I wouldn't want that one day, no matter what I did in that one day, I would not want it to change anything now. Anything. So what I mean is that I'd go back, it would all get erased after that one day. But I would have all of my knowledge that I have now back then, if that makes sense. And the reason being is because it's like the butterfly effect, isn't it? If you do one thing differently, you can change so much about who you are, your being, your beliefs, your personality, where you are today. And I wouldn't want to risk any of that. So I always look back on everything that I went through and I always just think, well, I'm glad that I did. Because I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't go through all of that. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, the book, A Little Bit of Happiness, took a back step whilst I figured out a lot of this that I've just been talking about. But also, it was supposed to be released at the end of, or it was submitted at the end of last year, and it was supposed to be released on my birthday of this year, 2022. However, it got delayed, unfortunately. It was delayed until August. There was a few little bits that we needed to work on. And then something happened. So something happened. Hang on, I've got my dates mixed up here. So yeah, it was supposed to be. That was it. So it was supposed to be released on my birthday. However, when I handed the book in, I handed the book in November. And they were reviewing it, and then they sent it back, and it was like, oh, can you work on these little bits? So I was like, yeah, sure. Worked on the little bits and sent it off in December. And then it was going to be released on my birthday. This is where the delay came from. This is where my wires got mixed up. In December, there was a big personal thing that happened in my life where I lost someone, a relative, who I wasn't necessarily close to. And I had to try and maneuver through these feelings of guilt and loss and grief, but not being able to express how I was feeling because I felt like I wasn't allowed to, because we didn't have that close of a relationship. And so because of that and all of these feelings that were part of that, I wanted to take the book back and I wanted to work on that. I wanted to write a new chapter about loss and about grief. And there's been many times where I've had to maneuver through grief. However, this particular situation, I felt like more people would want to hear about it. Because if I was feeling guilty for feeling some type of way or feeling that I couldn't grieve and that I wasn't allowed to because of that situation, there would be people out there who would feel exactly the same. And so therefore, I wanted to write that chapter just to let people know that you can and that you need to stop being your own imposter and standing in your own way. And we've talked about it on this podcast for so many episodes about self-sabotage, etc. We've talked about it many, many times. And that's what I was doing. I was standing in my own way. I was telling myself that I wasn't allowed to feel these things. And because there will be people out there who feel exactly the same way about certain situations, that they're not allowed to feel whatever they're feeling. They're not allowed to feel their grief, and because of a certain situation, because of the fact that they don't necessarily know that you go through a different form of grief, and that's what I wanted to write about. So so that's your update with your book. Oh geez, I've literally spoke about that for like 10 minutes. Obviously needed to talk about it. I have so many repressed issues. Anyway, rocking right up. So that's the status of the book. We are still writing it. We are still putting pen to paper, and actually, it's going to work out really, really well, because I have just started. Drum roll, please. I have just started my English literature and creative writing degree. Woo! I hear you say in the comments. But yeah, so I've just started my English literature and creative writing degree. And the reason that I started that was so I could continue writing my book and others as well to go alongside it. So yes, the book will be released 100%. You just have to wait. I will be a published author. Do not worry. Do not worry yourselves. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So, where does Spill It go from here? So, as I said at the top, Spill It is ending at the end of season 3, and I will be an emotional wreck probably throughout this whole few weeks and this whole process of coming to the end of something that I birthed, essentially. It's going to be a very crazy time. So yeah, we've got some great upcoming guests. Every single guest that we have got coming up will be a returning guest, starting obviously on Monday. So yeah, so Spill It used to go live on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. It will now be moved over to a Monday, and there is a reason for that. It's because I teach on a Wednesday now, so I need to work out my actual schedule. So on a Monday evening at 7 p.m. then we will go live with a guest, okay? And that guest will be a returning guest from either season 1 or early season 2. That will last up until when we hit episode 100. And on our 100th episode, I'm hoping we will have an amazing guest coming back. And Spill It will end at the end of that episode. Okay. And I will get emotional about it. So, because, I've given everything to Spill It. So yeah, it will end at the end of episode 100. However, the podcast will still be there. What that means is that it's not going to be deleted. So if you ever wanted to just go back and listen to the episodes or whatever, you'll be able to still go back and listen to the podcast, or you'll be able to go onto the Facebook page, etc. But the website and all of that lot will close, essentially. The merch store will still remain open because I have got 100 beanie hats to get through. I have got 100 beanie hats to get through. But we are also going to be doing giveaways. Every single episode of Spill It, except for this one, every single episode moving forward of Spill It will have a giveaway to win a beanie hat, completely free of charge. And all you have to do is put the hashtag Spill It or hashtag one more time. So Spill It one more time is the official name of obviously the season 3. That's why it's hashtag Spill It and not hashtag one more time. But yeah, so then after that, after Spill It has ended, and I've kept this under wraps, okay? So I've said that I'm going to be very, very busy working on different projects. And that's very, very true. Now, I will be talking about this, and you don't have to follow it. Nothing's set up right now. Obviously, I'm focusing on one thing at one time because that's what I need to do. Otherwise, I'll burn myself out. However, I will be talking about it on all of my episodes moving forward because this is such an important thing. I, Marcus Road, will be launching my brand new company called That's Kinda Gay. Okay? Woo! Gay! So I'm going to be launching my brand new company called That's Kinda Gay. The name has already been taken. That's my name now, so that's fine. But yeah, it's going to be called That's Kinda Gay. Now, what That's Kinda Gay is going to do, I'm going to be doing talks in schools, so primary schools, high schools, colleges, universities. I'm also going to be doing talks in workplaces and in public and at different events around the UK, talking about LGBTQ plus issues, LGBTQ plus rights, talking about basically inclusivity and making sure that in the workplace, how are people being inclusive and how are we being a diverse company, essentially. So I'm going to be doing all of these talks. I've already got a couple of talks scheduled, which is absolutely phenomenal. And I could not have done that without some amazing help from people with some amazing connections. But also there are going to be different events happening around the UK, specifically tailored for LGBTQ plus people to come along and speak to other LGBTQ plus people and get help and resources and advice and speak to people with regards to mental health within the LGBTQ plus community. There are going to be events specifically tailored for parents of LGBTQ plus people, for them to be able to get the help and support that they may need for their child coming out as part of the LGBTQ plus community. So whether they have come out as lesbian or gay or transgender or non-binary or whatever, obviously the correct thing is that the parent will say, yeah, well, I'm 100% accepting of this. However, they are then left to just have to be happy with this. But they do not get the support. They don't get the help. They don't get, where does that conversation go? So if, for example, you have a heterosexual, so say, for example, you are a mum or a dad and you have a heterosexual son or daughter and they come home and they want to talk about the birds and the bees. As a heterosexual parent, you are able to talk to your child about sex and relationships. However, that same concept is not available if you are a parent of an LGBTQ plus child. So say, for example, you have a son or a daughter and they come out as gay or lesbian or, again, transgender or non-binary or however they want to identify. You as a parent want the best out of your child, and you will obviously say, or you should say, shame on you if you don't, I accept you. And we've always known, blah, 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 all that one. But then if that, say for example, it's a son who has come out as gay and they come home, they feel like, or they would feel like that they can't have a conversation with their mum or their dad about relationships and sex, because how would they know? And the same again with like a lesbian child. If a lesbian girl comes home and wants to talk about sex and relationships, then mum or dad don't have the necessary tools to be able to have that conversation, because they've not had to experience it themselves. How do you talk about bullying? How do you talk about anything else that happens out there? How do you talk about sex? How do you talk about relationships? How do you talk about being safe and practicing safe sex? And how do you talk about the sexually transmitted diseases, etc.? How do you talk about all of those if you've not had to experience what it's like as part of the LGBTQ plus community? Because it is different. And so these events will be put on for parents of LGBTQ plus people to get resources, to speak to other parents of LGBTQ plus people. And so that's where that's kind of gay is going to be going. Not only that, there will also be a podcast where we speak to people of LGBTQ plus people and allies about issues, concerns, advice, health, sex, relationships, etc. We'll be talking about all of that as well. So that is where we are going to go next. So it's not the end, if you will, of Spill It. It is, and it's sad to see it go, but it's not the end of the podcast made by me, which means that you'll also be able to get more and more and more in the future. Just have to wait and see, okay? All the plans and everything will be available later on. Let me know your thoughts about season 3 of Spill It. Let me know your thoughts about That's Kind of Gay. Drop a comment or send me an email, okay? Feel free to do it now or do it later. It's completely your choice. But for now, let's talk about what's next on Spill It. So next week, we have got, I'm going to talk about all of my guests now. We have got the amazing Cameron McDonald. So you may remember Cameron McDonald, who created a viral video that went huge over lockdown, where he was about saving the theatre. And it was a case of these dancers were out in London and they were dancing to From Now On from The Greatest Showman. And he choreographed that and got people down to film it and directed it, etc. And he came on back in season 1 to talk about saving the theatre, saving the arts. Well, now that lockdown's finished and now that things are going back to normal, I want to know what's happened next. Of course I do. Then we have got the brilliantly talented Jack Dinsley coming onto the show for episode 82. We spoke, and that'll be on Monday, the 10th of October at 7 p.m. Now, you may remember Jack from being, so Jack suffers with a stammer, and Jack from a very young age wanted to make a difference with regards to how people look at people with stammers, and the way he wanted to reduce the stigma around that as well. He set up a business called Be Kind, which is a stammer campaign. He has received loads of different media attention. He's been up for several different awards for his work as well within the community. And he will be coming back on the show to talk about life after lockdown, how things have been for him, what has happened during these award ceremonies as well. And I want to know absolutely everything. Then we have got Max Beaton coming onto the show for episode 84, Unapologetically Me, on Monday, the 17th of October at 7 p.m. Now, this was a very, very early on episode that I had with Max. This was episode 2. So we had the pilot episode, episode 1, Welcome to the Hellmouth. And then this was episode 2 with Max. Now, Max is a trans male who was talking about on the show trans rights and the fact that the rights were being stripped away and the cost of going through the transgender process and all of that lot. And so Max is going to be coming back onto the show to talk about life, how life has been over the last couple of years and where we need to go as a country and as a society when it comes to trans rights. Then we will be talking to Nathan Paul. Nathan Paul will be featured on our episode 86 on Monday, the 24th of October. Now, Nathan came on to talk about his episode with Wellness Wednesday back in season 1. And Nathan talked about mental health, men's mental health, and he talked about his own struggles. And I want to know more. I want to see what he's been up to over the last couple of years, how his mental health been, and also talk about the amazing messages that he was putting out there during the lockdown and beyond as well. Now, you may notice that it says episode 80 is on Monday, and then the Monday after that is 82. But then the one after that is 84, and the one after that is 86. They go up in twos. Right? So if my maths is correct, we are missing an episode in between these. That is right. Guess what's back? Oh, you're going to absolutely hate me for this. But coming back every single week is... That is right. Marcus is it's going to be tea time with Marcus every single Friday. That is right. You get to have tea with me. It's Spill It Tea Time with Marcus every Friday at 7 p.m. You're getting a bonus episode of Spill It every single week. And the format of that episode, so obviously we'll have the Monday episodes where we'll talk about the guests that we've got coming up, and then on the Friday show it will be a deep dive into what we've talked about and what my thoughts are, and let's closing that circle, like the full circle, if you will. So obviously in season 1 we talked with these guests that are now coming back to season 3. Now then they'll have a half an hour session of just talking about what they want to talk about, and then on the Friday episode I will then finish off and put my own thoughts into it. So, for example, when Cameron comes on Monday and starts talking about saving the arts and the theatre industry and what life has been like after lockdowns and when the world has started opening back up again, when Cameron's finished his episode on the Friday, you'll get an episode with me where I talk about my experience within the theatre, what my thoughts were, and what we can do to help. And that will be Tea with Marcus every single Friday. Simple as that. Isn't that cool? I'm really excited about that, to be fair. And that will nicely take us up to episode 100. I keep banging on about that episode 100 is because that is not only just the final one, but it's going to be our biggest episode ever. So yeah, that's it. Is it? So it's been so good to have to be back as well. I know I've stumbled a few times talking on this live. I've not been in the rhythm of it. I've not done it for a year. But don't worry, we'll be coming back on Monday, and that's obviously with Cameron. It's going to be an absolutely amazing episode. I cannot wait. So, with that in mind, let's finish this up, shall we? So, if you are wanting to get in touch with me and you're wanting to find out more about Spill It or interact with my guests, etc., then you can do. All you have to do is email me. You can email me at marcus@spillit.uk, and you can head over to the website at www.spillit.uk, where you can find links to the podcast, to the shop where you can buy merch as well, and so much more. There's also a button on there where you can interact with all of my guests, so make sure that you remember that as well. And that nicely takes us to the end. Isn't that nice? I've even got music at the end of it. Okay. I've talked your ear off now for 48 minutes, and I think it's now time to leave you to your evenings and to your weekends. So make sure that you have an amazing weekend. It's been so nice to be back for season 3, and I can't wait to see you again. So on that note, I missed that so much. Until we spill it again, it's bye for now.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Spill It. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to do so. Spill It goes live every week on Wednesday at 7 PM on Facebook, YouTube and Twitch. And a special thank you to these amazing teacups.